Good afternoon, and thank you all for taking the opportunity to come out and help us kick off Wildfire Awareness Week. Welcome to CAL FIRE's Aviation Management Facility. The staff here are dedicated to preparing CAL FIRE's fleet of aircraft every year in preparation for fire season. This fleet contains over 50 fixed and rotary wing aircraft, and if it were not for the hard, dedicated efforts of this staff, most of whom most folks don't see because they're behind the scenes working, we would not have the aviation program that we have, and we certainly would not have had the ability to respond to this early fire season that we were in. But this program out here rose to the challenge and provided aircraft and covered almost the entire state. We have very few aircraft left here because they've all been deployed out around California. Before we begin this afternoon, I'd like to acknowledge just several guests here on the podium with me. Jim Branham, Executive Officer for the Sierra Nevada Conservancy. Gene Wade Evans, Deputy Regional Forester for the Forest Service Region 5 here in California. And David Bischel, the President of the California Forestry Association. Others you will be hearing from here shortly. Although the weather is cool today, do not let that fool you into thinking that fire season is over or any less than it is. Conditions are ripe for a fire at any given time throughout California. The National Weather Service, and we just had an opportunity to sit with the governor and review some maps of where we are at in terms of the seasonal outlook for California and the vegetation conditions here in the state. Most of California has been identified as higher than normal for potential for large and damaging fires. What that means is, with the right weather and a fire start, those fires can grow into large and damaging conflagrations, and that is not just in Southern California, it is anywhere in California, from the North Coast to San Diego. With the increase in fire activity that everyone has seen here over the last week, we've brought fire resources on several weeks early in Southern California. That's something that over the years we're not unaccustomed to hearing. But for only the fourth time in history, we've opened fire season in Northern California 4 to 6 weeks early. The current state of the vegetation, the grass, the brush, and the trees throughout California has promulgated over 1,100 fires to date so far this year. That's 550 more fires than we would normally have this time on average. Obviously, fire conditions are there, and we have a fire season. Last week, it was all hands on deck as we, again, folks right here in this program were finishing up air tankers and putting them out to the bases where they needed to be. Fire engines were being staffed. We were deploying resources with our federal, state, and local government partners. And fires burned in just the first few days of May over 40,000 acres. Again, starting the 1st of May, we've burned over 40,000 acres already. We can't do this ourselves. Again, all of the individuals behind me represent our federal, state, and local partners who together work to protect California against these wildland fires. We're doing our part as the state, federal, and local government. We need the public to do their part. It's time now to prepare your homes for wildfires. It's not yesterday, it's actually, the time was actually yesterday. It's too late tomorrow. So today, take advantage of this cooler weather. Go to CAL FIRE's website, Ready for Wildfire. It details everything that you need to know to prepare yourself ahead of time, during, and after the fire occurs. So please, Ready for Wildfire is the website. Living in California, residents need to be aware of these risks every day and prepare themselves. Many folks think with the weather that we have today that lightning is a major cause of wildfire. In reality, it's people. Over 94% of fires are started by people, either accidentally or intentionally. But bottom line, any fire started by a person can be prevented. And that's why we're here today, is to get the message out that we need to prevent fires. Wildfire Awareness Week is an important opportunity for California's communities to take this message locally and implement planning and preparedness at the local level. Again, I appreciate everyone taking the time to come out today, At this point, please join me in welcoming our first speaker, Secretary for Natural Resources, John Laird.
Thank you very much. This event was scheduled to be the kickoff of Awareness Week before we all knew that last week would be the real kickoff of the fire season. And last week, the Department of Water Resources took the last in a series of snow measurements and found that across the Sierra, snowpack was at 17% of normal. And because that signal was sent earlier, we worked as a team, the Resources Agency, CAL FIRE, the Department of Finance, and the Governor's Office to authorize a staffing up of CAL FIRE earlier than is traditionally true. And last week it turned out to be a wise decision because the staffed up levels were just coming on as they were most needed as the fires broke out across California. There was one press account that said that 170 million of the 220 million emergency fire fund had been spent, implying that that was due to the fires of the last few days. In fact, that entire emergency fund amount began on July 1st of the fiscal year and runs through June 30th, and then will be re-upped by the legislature and the governor in the next budget. So we are in reasonable shape with regard to the emergency fund, but the message is clear. We will do whatever it takes to fight the fires and worry about that later because public safety is first. So I think the real message here is this is really a deadly year. We've staffed up early. We're prepared on different ways, and we're going to do our best to meet the challenge and join with the public as they meet their challenge in working on defensible space and other things to help our firefighters. And it's my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, the Secretary of the Emergency Management Agency, Mark Ghilarducci. Mark.
Good afternoon. First of all, let me start off by saying that given our current fire activity that we've been experiencing here, our hearts go out to the folks that have already been impacted by the fires that existed here. And many of them thought that it would never happen to them, but these types of situations do. It's a real situation. And in California, you can find yourself affected by wildfires at any minute. So I want to acknowledge those folks who are struggling to rebuild their lives as we speak here today. And second, that we learn from these tragedies by understanding that these fires can grow and spread very rapidly, and by preparing ourselves, our families, and our homes through self-awareness, reducing the threat of wildfire, and having an emergency plan should they occur. At CalEMA, our responsibility is looking at the big picture for any disaster or emergency that may impact the state. And we ensure that when fast-moving fires grow beyond the ability of state and local fire agencies to get it under control, we coordinate intelligence and dispatch help from around the state, sometimes from other states, and at times from other countries. We've been a leader because, as a state, because we have had a lot of disasters here. In California. So the team is knowledgeable in our ability to pull together a wide range of personnel and resources from everything from dealing with terrorist attacks to floods to wildfires. One key way that we do this, and that we've already been engaged with doing in this fire season, is fostering strong partnerships. We work closely with our local and state and emergency counterparts and at the federal level throughout the state to ensure our mutual aid system is robust. And it is the most robust mutual aid system that exists in the country. And we really truly appreciate the willingness of our local partnerships to be able to help all of Californians when this occurs. In addition, we fostered relationships with private industry and nonprofit groups to give us access to specialized equipment, supplies, food, and other resources that will help streamline efforts to save lives and protect property. And our governor is committed to being prepared as well. Despite tough budget times over the past few years, we have been able to procure and strategically place over 114 Type 1 and 15 Type 3 mutual aid all-risk fire engines throughout the state that bolster our state's response capability, much like you see here today, this yellow engine. And the state agencies that we work with stand ready to play their role in the overall state disaster response system. Just a couple of pieces of a larger system that is designed to do our best to serve the public when disaster strikes. But at the end of the day, you are our best defense. I'll close by reminding what Chief Pemlott said during his remarks. Approximately 94% of wildfires in California are human-caused, which means that they could be prevented. Help your friends, your family, and community by taking steps to prepare and prevent these fires from starting in the first place. We're relying on you, and so are they. Thank you very much, and I'd now like to introduce our Adjutant General of the California National Guard, General Dave Baldwin. General Baldwin.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary. The California National Guard stands prepared to deploy, on the call of the governor, the entire spectrum of military capabilities to support our first responders. That spectrum ranges on the high end or the high-tech end from space-based satellite systems all the way down to good old-fashioned foot soldiers that will be prepared to mobilize and train to reinforce firefighters on the front lines if necessary. We've trained up all of our helicopter crews in the Army and the Air National Guard. They're ready to go to fight fires. We've already employed our modular airborne firefighting systems from our C-130 cargo aircraft on the fires in Southern California, and we're prepared for a long haul over the summer to support the first responders. We've coordinated with the Navy and Marine Corps and can bring them in, if necessary, to reinforce our efforts. The key to success in this fire season, though, is interagency cooperation. And the public can rest assured that here in California, we invented that notion. And the leaders sitting behind me continue to carry that on, led mainly by Secretary Ghilarducci from CalEMA and Chief Pimlott from CAL FIRE, have created and crafted an integrated, blended, fully capable interagency team. And my hat's off to them for their leadership efforts and the work of everyone in CalEMA and CAL FIRE to help respond. But all that interagency cooperation is difficult if the members of the public don't listen to these leaders and get ready. Get your homes ready, get your businesses ready, get your land ready to combat this fire season. And I'll be followed by our Commander-in-Chief, Governor Brown.
Well, we're here to kick off Fire Awareness Week, get ready for the fire season. It's already here. So you got some professionals committed. They know their business. They're going to do everything they can. But we also ought to recognize that our climate is changing. The weather is becoming more intense. It's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of lives. It's not something in the adversarial way that we can look at this. You over there, we're over here. It's kind of a us, them, you, them. No, it's all us together in California, in America, coping with increasing challenges. This business of fire, it's devastating to those when it affects them. And we know that the fire season has grown over the last 40 years. It's gotten longer and longer. We have our intermittent wet years, but here it is. And we have to be ready for it. And I'm going to do everything I can to deal with forest fires, but also with the whole problem of climate change. And then the big issue, how do we adapt? Because it doesn't look like the people who are in charge are going to do what it takes to really slow down this climate change. So we're going to have to adapt. And adapting is going to be very, very expensive. That's another reason why we have to maintain some budget discipline, because whatever we need to spend today, it's going to be more tomorrow when it comes to dealing with fires and other unpredictable crises that we're going to have to face. So to all the men behind us, thanks a lot. We got a big job ahead, and you got my backing.
Thank you, Governor Brown, and it's very clear that he has our back. Great support for what we're doing. And I want to open this up to some question and answers.